Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Cafecito Chats. We're so excited. We have not had our broadcast since last December. So we're super excited to be here with you today. It's so nice to get back to doing our work and sharing some inspirational stories about what people are doing in the community. And we have a very special guest speaker today. We're going to be talking about finding your fire. So for all of you, those of you that are tuning in, either starting your own business, have a passion for doing some of your work, and just wanting to hear from some amazing people that are making a difference in the community. So very excited to be here today. I want to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker that we have. My dear friend, Terry Broussard Williams is here with us today. And I wanted to share a little bit about how I met her. And I have not shared this with her before, but I wanted to say that her and I actually attended a Courageous Conversations training. And I remember her and I were invited to give an interview with KUT. And during the time of the facilitation, we got assigned to different tables. And I remember being assigned to her table, and she said something that resonated with me that I was just like, this is somebody who I can probably talk to forever. She had such an inspirational story. What she talked about with me, and just sitting there with her. I remember the facilitator was like, time is up. And her and I were still chit-chatting about our stories, what we had seen in Austin, what we had experienced, and then just being there for this phenomenal training that was 2 days, Courageous Conversations, that's put on by Leadership Austin. So super, super excited about that. I do want to provide you guys a little bit. We've been promoting her work. We've been talking about her amazing book, Find Your Fire. But we're going to I want to introduce what she's done and who she is and why she's so important about what she's done in the community. So I'm just going to read her bio. I'm going to read a little bit about her, just to give you a sense of who she is. So she has built her career on a solid reputation as an authentic, courageous, and impactful change agent. Throughout her journey as an award-winning nonprofit executive, a lobbyist, and a public speaker, Terry has transformed public and community service into a professional art form, positively impacting the lives of millions of people. Over the course of her 17-year career as a government relations executive for a large international nonprofit, Terry realized her dream of creating significant community shifting outcomes. Her most distinguished accomplishments include the passage of key pieces of legislation such as the Louisiana Smoke-Free Air Act. She achieved this game-changer milestone at the promising age of 28. As one of Austin's Business Journal's most influential women in Central Texas, Terry's commitment to creating meaningful, groundbreaking, and systemic change is clear. She provides inspirational and altruistic leadership to advisory boards, including the Announce Stress Institute for Civic Engagement, the Louisiana State University Diversity Advisory Board, and the LBJ School of Public Policy, among others. She holds a bachelor's degree from Louisiana State University and graduated from the University of Pennsylvania with a master's of nonprofit leadership. She is the founder and president of Movement Makers, and as chief fire starter, she's the author of Find Your Fire. I am honored to welcome my dear friend, Terry Broussard Williams. Terry?
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I love that you told that story about Courageous Conversations, because we talked so much for 2 days and had such a good time. It brought back a lot of memories.
Yes, and as I said, I remember you. I know we haven't engaged as much in Austin in our work, but it just seemed like our paths came together, and it was so great to just be able to talk to you and say, as women of color, we're experiencing some of these same issues. We're out there trying to make a difference. So it was just such a great experience for me.
Yes, I remember that so well, and that was probably almost 3 years ago.
Yes, it was.
Crazy.
Time has flown by, huh?
Yes. So much has happened during that time.
And then she just mentioned, for those of you that are just joining us, she is actually still active at the Capitol doing her work. And one of the things that I want to share as we begin our interview and just our conversation with you is that we all have life journeys that have led us to where we are today. And we believe in sharing this journey. This is why we started Cafecito Chats, because we want other women of color, but just in general for people to understand there's somewhere that things happen. Success doesn't happen overnight. So can you share with us maybe what are some key moments in your life journey that have led you to where you are today, Terry?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. There are just so many. And I have to make you all laugh. I'm going to duck real quick. My dog's treats just fell, and I think he's about to OD on treats. Give me 1 second. A trick for all of you in Zoom land, I usually keep them up here to keep him quiet while I'm talking. So I just like throw treats at him while I'm talking. But so there's so many milestones, and with every one, not only do I grow as a person, but I like reiterate as a person. I think a lot of times we say we grow, and we don't actually talk about how we shed something and turn into something else. It's and I love that so much. And so, it's so easy to think about the professional opportunities that allowed me to grow, but the milestones actually are when there was adversity or when I turn obstacles into opportunities. And so one that is so, if it's become a part of me, happened in 2017. My father and mother were just so wedded to the church, and as were my grandparents. And my mom and dad worked really hard to launch a capital campaign in our church after it burned down. And just a couple of months after the church was rebuilt, my father passed away, and we buried him in that church. And that milestone for me is so personal because that was when I learned that the movements that we create, I believe you could see it above, we are all leaders that turn moments into movements. But the movements that we create, they're not for ourselves. They're not for the people that we know. They're for the people that we'll never know. That church, is filled every single Sunday, and they're people that are there are the people that my father will never meet. Another one is, it happened just a couple of months ago, about 18 months ago. This was right before COVID. I was lobbying in Washington, D.C., and I had a very random accident where someone threw a sofa in the air and it landed on my head, like literally furniture on my head. And I had a major concussion and could not work for quite a long time. And so I tell this story, but I often leave this part out. Weeks leading up to it, I kept hearing crashes in my head. And I'll never forget, I told my mother, at the time I was in graduate school, I was writing Find Your Fire. I was on all these boards. I was in the middle of legislative session. And I said, I will rest. And it was like September. I was like, but I can't rest until May. But I kept hearing these, crashing sounds in my head. And so that was when I realized that, whatever you believe in, if you believe in spiritual guides, the universe, God, whatever it is that drives you, sometimes it will cause you to pause. If you don't take a moment for yourself, it will take you to pause. So I went from a couch being on my head to sitting on a couch for 3 months and finding myself centered and just reiterating, who was it that I wanted to be? How did I want to show up in the world? And what did work and community mean to me? And so I am not the same person I was today that I was at both of those milestones.
And that, it's one of the things that we've shared in Cafecito about our spiritual journey and what that means. Many times you hear these sounds or you hear these, your gut feeling about something that you need to be redirected. We've gone through that just recently as well, because, what different world we are in now where we had just moved into a wonderful office space. We had this beautiful space to have meetings, to do things. And all of a sudden this pandemic hit. And I've been finding myself say, we could do more with less. And had I not, I think, gone through this experience to be a little bit different than yours in a physical, it literally physically stopped you in doing it. What it's physically stopped me to do is really enjoy being home, really enjoy the importance of wellness, that I don't have to be moving fast, going, breaking my back to do things. It still will get done. And so I'm just really excited to hear that, these moments, while that was such a random accident to happen to you, but it did give you an opportunity to pause.
Yeah, again, I say leaders turn moments into movements, but sometimes the greatest movement that you will ever cultivate is inside of yourself. It's within you.
Hmm. Well, and speaking of greatest moments and cultivating things, I know now you're trying to share this with others through your book. And I would love to hear what helped inspire you to write the book.
Oh gosh, I like you mentioned, I've been able to do so much in my life. I worked in television news and 3 different TV stations, was a professional fundraiser for a nonprofit. And then since 2003, I've served as an advocacy director, lobbyist, public policy professional, whatever word you want to use. I've been able to influence people to create good in our community. And
Mhm.
at every juncture, I realized that there was someone who told me a story that inspired me. And there was someone that I learned from. I did not have a pedigree to become a lobbyist. I had never met a lobbyist when I decided to become one. And so I wanted to put all of that information, package all of that inspiration in a book where people could read about people that were similar to them in their background or their religious beliefs or their educational beliefs or even their cultural beliefs, whatever it was. Someone would be able to pick up a book, open it, and find someone that would inspire them. And then learn from them how to create change. So that's what you'll see in Find Your Fire. I tell the story of some incredible people that I call fire starters, people who see things that others ignore, but they feel compelled to create change. And they then lay out the how and the why they do the work so that others can continue that movement in their own way.
And is there something special or unique that you would say about Find Your Fire? Like, I know you mentioned, there was all these contributors to your book that ended up writing, and I'm just so moved because it always started with something in their family, as you mentioned, something in their life experience that brought them to have this experience. But any key messages or anything unique that you want to share that ended up transpiring out of this book experience?
Yeah, when I interviewed each of the women and wrote their stories, I really looked for things that were similar to me in my own journey. Because when we find something that connects us, oftentimes we see ourselves in that person. And I wanted to do that for the reader. And I really wanted people just to find something that would ignite their own fire and allow them to see how they might be able to create change. So you don't see 2 stories of fire starters that are similar. One person might have ran for public office and another person might have run a campaign. And so there's so much to their stories. But again, I interviewed them to learn their story, then really shared adversity or an obstacle they had and how they used that very moment to create change. And sometimes the change they will share, they will win, they will pass a law, and other times they will fail. Maybe they don't win a public office that they seek. But throughout each of their stories, you will discover that they did turn that obstacle into an opportunity and created a movement.
And one of the things, as you're speaking about opportunities and movements, and I know that you're big, I do follow you on social media. And for those of you, she does have a wonderful social media on all different platforms, but she's always giving advice. And one of the things we do on Cafecito Chats is we give consejitos,
Hmm.
advice you would like to share with others, Terry. And I know there's probably a number of them, but maybe just a couple you want to give to those of our audience that's viewing this. What kind of consejito or advice would you like to have them know?
Gosh, there's so it depends on the day, right? I think I I think one that I will share, and I'm speaking to myself as I speak to everyone that's watching, is we have to do 3 things just so that we can remain happy, healthy, and whole. We really have to relate to those around us and learn from them. And when we learn from them, we can iterate and our ideas will be better than they were the day before. Or if, we fail forward, maybe the next day we find a win. Then we must restore our energy. We must rest so that we really can have the energy that we need to continue to build movements. And lastly, we need to reunite in our communities. Right now, there's so much division and so much competition. You see all these people creating silos, and they should be running parallel and headed in the same direction. So when we can
Mhm.
reunite with each other and find the unity within the movements that we want to create, we will be able to create things that are so much bigger than us, so much bigger than ourselves. And along the way, we are sure to learn a little bit about ourselves, learn about the community that we want to create, and learn about the opportunities that exist so that we can truly have coalitions that last even far beyond any of us.
I like what you, thank you, Terry. Those are definitely consejitos that were great that we can take with us. I liked that you shared about what it is to rebuild and come together as coalitions. I often get asked, as a small business owner, folks will say like, can you share advice with me? And I'm always willing to be like, yes, schedule time with me. There's so much room in the public engagement and community engagement world. We need more people doing this. And
Yeah.
I'm often sometimes met with like this shock or this like, well, I've talked to other people and they're really private about this, or I've talked to other people and, they'll just give me 15 minutes. And while I do feel my time is valuable, I also believe that someone who's truly coming to you and saying like, I'm considering this, I've seen you as somebody doing this and being successful in my eyes, I feel like there's so much room to give. Like what I'm going to do myself is going to be unique. And I don't ever have to look at that as somebody taking away from me or that it's competition. And I don't know if where I learned that along or if I saw that demonstrated to me or if I saw someone do that to me and I realized I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that way. And I do this a lot too with my staff. One of the things I train them, a lot of my staff that come through Cortez Consulting are young Latinas. And a lot of times we've seen in our community that it's each for its own. And I'm like, we need to change that paradigm. We need to change it and be able to say like, we're here for each other at any juncture, at any time, because we're stronger together.
Absolutely. I do think that we're taught to compete against one another and not like help each other. A lot of times opportunities might come my way because someone is drawn to me or my story, but they're not right for me. So I should
Mm-hmm.
bless someone else with that opportunity. Um, and we also have to remember that each of us are here for a specific reason. And that reason is truly our personal mission. It's not the task that's in front of us. It's not the accolades. Like we're here to do the work to really advance that personal mission. I will share this story with you. I must have been around 2013, 2014. Someone in Austin came to me and, wanted to give me an award. And the 2 years prior to that, I had won so many awards, and I was getting
Mm-hmm.
to a place where I didn't want anyone to question my intent. I didn't want anyone to question, if I was doing the work for accolades, and so I declined. I said, "I support your mission. I want to support you as a leader, but this time I have to pass. There's so many other people that are deserving." And, I think it takes a person that truly isn't worried about self and is focused on community to back away from that. And I did it with great intention. It was not easy, but I never wanted anyone to confuse me, the message I was trying to send, my purpose with anything else. And I honestly, looking back, I don't know if that executive director really understood that at the time. Like she thought it was an
Mm-hmm.
insult to her organization. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it'll take more people like, you, Laura, and myself to say, like, I am here for the greater good. I am here to leave something behind because something was given to me, for that to become just commonplace and the norm instead of the exception.
I love what you say because I every time I look at award season, it seems to be similar individuals or similar, awards, and I think that is such a great way of a lesson that you're able to say, like, it's not about the accolades, it's about what I'm doing in the community. And I know so many of us are out there that are probably listening are also doing the same thing. At the end of the day, it really is about how you leave your mark.
Yeah.
Um,
I say it all
yes.
the time. We're not here to be popular, focus on creating a legacy and telling
Mhm.
a story and not popularity. And
Mhm.
when you do that with a good heart, good intentions, and good work ethic, you will be well on your way to doing the things that you want to do in life.
Well, this has been a good conversation for me. I want to ask you a couple more before we kind of move on and
Yeah.
get closing here. But just something that, we've talked a lot about your journey, but what are you doing now? What's the next thing? What is something that you're sharing about the journey going forward?
Yeah, so I'm actually updating Find Your Fire. Find Your Fire came out in August and it was right on time. I think a lot of people came out of the summer, really thinking about the dual pandemic, thinking about COVID and the recovery
Mhm.
that was ahead for our country. And that recovery is going to be something we're all working on for quite some time. And others really looked at the back half of that dual pandemic and really got involved in changing systemic issues around racial equity. And so I felt like Find Your Fire came out as a shortcut or a handbook for those doing the work. But as I double clicked and kind of looked at the wider through a wider lens, there was still so much for us to talk about and so much for us to be inspired by. So I am working on updating Find Your Fire, telling stories of women who ran for office in November and won, telling
Oh.
stories of, doctors that led through the pandemic and are creating change now, and even working to include some stories around hate crimes, especially those that have occurred
Mhm.
in the last month. So I
Mhm.
am really excited about that. I truly want to tell people you don't need a pedigree to create change. All you need is, I'll say it again. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Good heart, good work ethic, and good intentions, and you will find your path, and you will definitely be a fire starter that's moved to create change.
Well, thank you, Terry. I've sat down with you, this time to be able to share this wisdom with everybody in Cafecito Chats. I want to share some information on how people could get connected with you. She shared such a powerful message, but I also want you to know where you can continue to find her, where you can continue to follow her and see her work. These are just some of the things that we're sharing with you. Her Twitter, her Instagram, her LinkedIn. Terry, do you also have a listserv for people to get in touch? Any e-newsletters that you also put out?
Oh, thank you for asking. I send a letter to all the fire starters. I call it Friday Fuel, where you can get
Oh,
some tips, tools, and strategies on how to create change or just to cultivate that movement from within. And you could sign up at terrybwilliams.com. So thank you for putting that on the screen.
yay. And then, Terry, we ran a promotion on our Instagram because we want to share this good work that's in this book. And we know some of you were super engaged. You went to go follow Movement Makers on Instagram. We just did this on Instagram. And
Fun.
Terry, we want you to announce the winners. We are going to put it on the screen.
Oh,
We're giving
fun.
away 5 books to some, and they're all wonderful women who follow us, who also shared some of the really cool things. We asked the question, what are you doing to be inspired and to find your fire? And it was simple things in some ways of their wellness, taking care of themselves. We had small business owners talk about it. So Terry is going to announce the 5 individuals. We're going to put it up on the screen and she's going to announce the winners. So if
Oh,
you see yourself
yes.
in
I
there,
love
Terry,
it. Look at the confetti. Brenda, Jessica, Francisca, Janine, and Marie. You're getting
yay!
Yes, and I would love to work with you to get some book signature plates and some other goodies. So we'll have to talk offline.
Yay. Okay, sounds good, Terry. Well, again, I can't thank you guys enough. I'm going to see if there's any comments, if anyone has any questions or anybody wants to ask questions of Terry, now's the time. Of course, if you didn't have any comments right now or don't have anything, you have her information on getting in touch with her personally. Also following all the good work. Sometimes I get to see her little notes of inspiration and her just amazing things that she writes about every day. So worth a great follow. So just checking the comment sections right now. I don't see any coming in, but I definitely want to thank you, Terry, for coming and having an honest conversation, sharing your heart and your wisdom. We hope to continue to have you back as we do our work here in Cafecito. Everyone who's tuning in, just want to thank you for listening to her story. And again, Terry, for all the things you shared. I'm so grateful that our paths cross, that somehow was meant to be, that we're very similar souls in the work that we're doing. And I'm just so happy we crossed paths.
Well, don't forget, you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. So take those moments on the couch. And for everyone in Zoomland, don't forget, keep the dog treats on the table. Don't let them fall on the floor.
So true. We all have I have my little pets that stay around me too, the same thing. All right. Thank you, Terry. And for anyone who's interested, we always close our show. For those of you that would like to be part of Cafecito Chats, we do have a Cafecito Chats interest form. If you want to share a story, I think one of the things we may be doing in the future is just having people have tuned in and have been inspired about the message of all our guest speakers and just sharing maybe what it did for their lives and what it meant for us. How to get in touch with us, you guys know where to find us. You're obviously live here with us today. All the different ways that you can connect with us. We obviously are on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And then we just want to share with you our next special guest that will be coming. And we are now running Cafecito once a month. We have a lot of different projects we're doing, but we really wanted to make an impact once a month. So on April 14th, save the date, Tala, my great friend for my Leadership Austin class, will be talking about community pods. She's done an amazing effort in Austin to start education centers basically for kids that were unable to do the learning at home. And given the work that we've been doing, we know that there's still issues of internet access, still issues of having some great education and people working with them. So be sure to tune in on April 14th. And again, just special thanks to Terry for all the love she gave today, the message that she shared. And thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll see you next month on April 14th. Thank you guys. Take care and be safe.